Medical Intuitive Insights with your host, Dr. Gloria Warren, is a program that presents topics on medical intuition, holistic opportunities outside of mainstream society, and scientific research as applied today. Topics range from online intuitive readings to interviews unveiling alternative healing modalities and discussing them with inspirational leaders. Dr. Warren is the bridge within holistic arts while stressing the balance between the spiritual and physical self. So now, please welcome the host of Medical Intuitive Insights, Dr. Gloria Warren.
Is yoga exercise or sacred? What if your breath could heal you? Are you practicing yoga or just posing? Yoga's ancient wisdom, modern healing, and a global connection. This is not exercise. It's a transmission. This is ancient power. What if I told you that something practiced in millions of homes today began as a sacred pathway to enlightenment? Not fitness, not flexibility, not even stress relief, but an awakening. Hello, and welcome to Medical Intuitive Insights. I'm Dr. Gloria Warren, and today we take a journey, not across land, but across time, culture, and consciousness. From the sacred origins of India to its expansion across the world and into your life today. This is the sacred journey of yoga, the sacred roots of yoga, where it all began. Before yoga became something you do, it was something you entered. To understand yoga, we must go back, not just hundreds of years, but thousands. To ancient India, to be exact, where yoga was not a class, not a routine, not even a system of exercise. It was a way of being, a way of life. The true meaning of the word yoga comes from Sanskrit, the root hui. I think that's how you pronounce it. The meaning is to unite, to join, to bring into harmony. But what was actually being united? Not muscles, not flexibility, but the body and the mind, the breath and the nervous system, the individual and the universal consciousness. Yoga in its core, it's not about doing more, it's about removing what is in the way, removing the mental noise around you, emotional disturbances, and internal fragmentation, so that clarity can actually emerge. Boy, that's something we really need in today's world. So much of what we understand about yoga comes from Yoga Sutras and Patanjali, written approximately 2,000 years ago. These teachings did not describe poses, they described the mind, the spirit, the soul. The Patanjali have defined yoga as the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind. Let that settle for a moment. Because this changes everything, the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind. Yoga is not about controlling the mind, it's about the quieting of the mind. So Patanjali outlined what is known as the 8 limbs of yoga, a complete system of human development. So let's walk through them slowly. Yama, ethical restraints, how you interact with the world. Nonviolence, truthfulness, integrity. Yoga begins with how you live, not how you stretch. Niyama is the personal discipline, how you relate to yourself, cleanliness, contentment, self-awareness. Before mastering the body, you master your habits. And then there's number 3, asana, which is your posture. This is what most people think yoga is all about. But originally, asana simply meant a stable, comfortable seat for meditation. Not performance, not perfection, just stillness. So postures were never the goal. They were the preparation for something much, much more deeper. Pranayama is number 4, breath control. Breath is not just air, it is energy. Pranayama teaches you to regulate your breath, your nervous system, your internal state. Number 5 is the pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses. This is where things become profound. You begin to turn inward, away from the noise, distractions in life, external stimulations. This here, number 5, is where real awareness begins. So number 6, the dharana, it means focused attention, the ability to concentrate deeply without distraction in today's world. This alone is transformative. Number 7, the dhyana, meditation. I think you knew I was going to get there. It's sustained awareness, effortless focus, presence without interruptions, without your mind interrupting your sense of soul and self. So number 8, samadhi. It's the integration of enlightenment. This is the ultimate state, where separation dissolves, where the observer and experience become one. That's what it is. So what most people call yoga is just a small part of a much larger system. It's posture. It's just of the doorway. It's just the doorway. The breath is the bridge, and awareness is the destination. In ancient times, the yogi's role was not something attended in like a class. A yogi was something devoted to inner mastery, discipline, conscious awareness, often living in nature, isolation, silence, not to escape the world, but to understand it more deeply. The true purpose of yoga. Let's bring it into clarity for the audience out there. Yoga was designed to reduce suffering, increase awareness, and align the human system, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, strategically, energetically, and spiritually. So now we ask, not as information, but as reflection, if yoga was never about movement, what is it really asking us? This is the third sacred practice that began to move beyond India and encountered new cultures, new beliefs, new interpretations, and something fascinating happened. Yoga began to change, not in its essence, but in its expression. Though the yoga originated about 5,000 years ago, I think even before that, personally, but it was rooted in the Vedic traditions and later refined into texts throughout the world, like the Yoga Sutras and Patanjali. Yoga was defined as stilling the fluctuations of the mind. There's that word again, stilling. This was not a movement. It was a mastery of consciousness. Yoga originally consisted of breath control, pranayama, meditation, dhyana, and ethical living, spiritual discipline. The body was simply the doorway to reach that state, spiritual state, actually. So I am going to show you some slides. We're going to do this in this section for you. So let's look at some of the slides here. Global yoga. We're going to go more into this in section 2. but I thought it would be really nice. Next slide, please. So this, of course, is, I put this in here to get you into a mental state of calm. The water running, you have some of the elements there. You have the stone, which hopefully has metal, and you have the water, and you have this energy coming from that water. Water going towards you in a flow, in a stream, or in this case, the water fall. It actually provides energy to your spiritual being, your etherical value, your soul, and your body. So if you need energy, please have the water flowing towards you. Sit in a stream, face where the water is coming from. Sit next to a stream, even when you're fishing or just meditating. Okay, next slide, please. So this is a typical yoga class in America, could be in Mexico, could be any, even in Europe. These are what they do. They do their poses. But remember, it's not about the poses specifically. It's more about the spiritual meditation within it. So if you're going to go out and do yoga, please, by all means, consider the spiritual part. Next slide, please. This, of course, once again, by water. Waves rushing in, her abdomen facing the water. It actually provides that energy, the direction to flow into her body, in the central core of her body. Things just to keep in mind. Okay, next slide, please. Let's look at the ancient roots of yoga just a little more deeply, since we've already gone through that. So next slide, please. So a lot of times when back in the 60s, all of these yoga practices started coming, yogis started bringing the ideas into society here in America. And this was a common scene. This is why I put this in here. A common notation where they would look out in the mountains, which they still do today. Next slide, please. And this slide basically just showed me, some of the ancient yogis in practice. And if you notice, a lot of them, sitting, meditating, reading the meditations, which led to the next slide, please. Here in America, on the mountaintops, Colorado and the Rockies, very common, or even in California, really big, where yogis used to go and practice. Next slide, please. Some ancient text, actually, just to show you, probably from the Vedic or something of that such. I'm sure my Indian people from India would actually correct me on that. But I try. If you want to put comments in, please do. I would like to know actually what I'm looking at here. Next slide, please. And another one there, it shows you a yoga position. And I just appreciate that I know there's wisdom in these photos. Next slide, please. So here's the history of yoga, some things for you to keep in mind. I think we already went through some of that. The next slide, please. Yoga across cultures expanded. Next slide, please. And here you see some Tibetan monks. I was one of the ambassadors for the Tibetan monks in Chicago, and I got to meet the pleasure of meeting them and caring for them while they were here. This is in Tibet. So next slide, please. You can do yoga anywhere, even in the park. Next slide, please. And here we have other things that yoga evolved, other techniques, Tai Chi, one of them. Next slide, please, which is the Chinese management skill of Qi as being the energy. So in this one here, it's also spreading further and further into the modern world, modern life, all around the globe. Next slide, please. Qi King is part of this energy flow, and this is one of their poses that they do to feel the energy, emit energy, feel it with your hands. Next slide, please. And there we are near water again. I just love it. Absolutely love it. Let's see. Where do I want to stop? Let's stop there for now. We'll pick up there when we come back. So anyways, you have an idea of where yoga has been, where it is going, and I just think that it's marvelous, and if you don't do it now, please consider taking it up. So we're coming up to a commercial, how sacred yoga is what we're going to look at. Traveled across continents. We're going to go more in depth and transformed into what we see today. Stay right there. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Medical Intuitive Insights. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Warren. So you got to see a few slides, right? Nice, beautiful photos, pictures, contributed things that were, I think it was nice to look at and understand. Don't forget that water trick I mentioned about the water flowing towards you to give you energy. But if you want to release, let's say you're having an anxiety attack or something, and you want to release energy, you face your back towards the water flowing towards you, and you face your abdomen, your core, towards where the water's going, leaving you, away from you. And that will actually take some of those negative energies out of your body and away from you. I'm a Reiki master, so I deal a lot with energy, but there's a lot of roads crossing yoga and Reiki. So my specialty is Hatha yoga, which we'll get into that in a little bit. So yoga crosses the globe all over. It was expanded around the globe. It moved beyond India. Maybe not the same, but very similar. So as yoga moved beyond its birthplace in India, it did something really remarkable. It adapted. It didn't disappear. It changed form ever so slightly as it moved further and further out, but it kept its true essence. The meditation, the breath work, the body work, it kept that. And this is where the story becomes deeply human, because yoga didn't just travel geographically. It translated itself into different cultures, the way they wanted it practiced. So let's pause here for a moment, because what you're about to understand changes how you see every version of yoga today. Yoga is not just a practice. It is a language of the body and consciousness. And like any language, it sounds different depending on where you are at the time, globally speaking. So from Tibet and Nepal, the path of stillness is what I know it as. When yoga moved north to the Himalayan regions, it meant Buddhist traditions. Here something shifted. Movement became minimal. Stillness became central. Meditation deepened into silence, observation, awareness of thought itself. The body was no longer something to train. It became something to transcend. You see this reflected in monks who sit for hours, sometimes even days, sometimes longer than that, not moving. Yeah, exactly, but profoundly active internally, expanding their inner being, their soul. This version of yoga teaches us you do not need to move to experience transformation. Stillness itself can be the most powerful practice. So now let's go to China. It's more of a flow of energy there. As these ideas moved into China, they encountered systems already in place, including Qigong and Taoist philosophy. So they were already doing Qigong, and it was expanded from yoga. I think it was more about the pushing and the pulling and the movement of the energy, but being in a meditative state when you do it. Now, something fascinating happened. The concept of prana became known as qi. Different word, same principle. The life force energy moving through the body, the soul, and through the aura. But in Chinese systems, movement became more fluid, more circular, more connected to nature instead of holding poses. Although not necessarily poses per se in India to the extent as the US, but still the poses. But historically, you begin to see the flowing sequences, continuous motion, breath, synchronized with movement itself. Here's what this teaches. Energy must move, or it stagnates. Stagnation leads to imbalance. Movement restores flow. It kind of goes back to that concept. If you don't move it, you lose it. I've said it several times on my show. So when it reached China, they believed more in the moving of energy. Then it went to Africa, rhythm, breath, community. It's a perspective that is often overlooked in Africa. While not always labeled yoga, many traditions in Africa practiced breathwork, rhythmic movement, grounding through the earth, community-based healing. This is yoga, just in a different expression. Here, healing is not individual, it's collective, as a community. See how it expanded, not just with the regions, but it expanded the idea of the energy from the inner self to the nature around you to the community. It is collective. Movement is not silent in Africa. It's rhythmic, expressive, and live. Breath is not controlled quietly. It's felt, heard, and shared. So this version reminds me, healing does not always happen alone. The body heals through connection as much as stillness. So now we come down to the US, the Western world, the transformation. We arrive in modern Western world where yoga became something entirely different. Here yoga became very structured, branded, marketed, accessible. This is why I like to do more of an ancient Vedic type of yoga. And I do Qigong. That's my one favorite movement energy. And movement with yoga, but more in a meditative state. But studios opened, classes formed, and millions of people were introduced to yoga for the first time. And this is important because something beautiful did happen. Yoga became available to the masses. Something also happened as well. Its deeper meaning became quieter. But it helped the people at the time of what they needed. It's more about the balance, the gain versus the loss. Let's be honest here. This is where your authority comes in. What was gained, as the yogis would think? Was it accessibility? Was it physical health benefits? Stress reduction awareness? Perhaps. And I believe, dealing with hatha yoga, that's exactly what we gained here in the US. There was positive gain that helped society and the masses, the same as in China and in Tibet and in Africa. Well, what diminished? Perhaps the spiritual depth, the philosophical understanding, the energetic awareness. So now we ask, not as judgment, just awareness. Are we practicing yoga, participating in just a version of it? I think it all depends on how you look at it. Yoga didn't lose its power, it simply became layered. And today we have access to all of it. You have access to all the global yoga as well, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. This is where your journey becomes personal. Because the next question is not what is yoga around the world, but rather which version of yoga is shaping your life. Tibet, Nepal, meditation became the central point. The stillness over movement. The monks practiced their own style of yoga. The birthplace, per se. They took an idea, they applied it, it worked for them. China, yoga blended with Qigong, energy became known as Qi instead of prana. And Africa, the movement, the rhythm, the breath, the healing through community connection. The Western yoga became physical, accessible, commercialized. But here's the truth, something was gained and something was lost every time when it moved from one place to the other. But became centralized in their own cultures, including in America. Our culture embraces it. Let's look at the last few slides in that one section. Okay, so yoga styles, very important, of course. Okay, here we have, you're going to learn much more of this in the next section. So I'm delighted to bring you what I can. The Namibian style, notice she's wearing white. She is very meditative, very calm. The white is a sense of cleanliness. Number 20, next slide, please. This is Vinyasa yoga. It's from basically what they do in Vietnam. And they have, similar to what we have here in the US, they have specific poses used to energize themselves. They're using it as a physical exercise too. You know, I went to an Asian restaurant the other day, and in the restaurant, I was just so delighted to see that some of the exercises that are posted on my Facebook account, they were doing some of those exercises back in the corner. And I didn't say anything. I felt blessed that they were doing them at work. It was very slow. It was in the low time of the afternoon. And they were actually doing something to help themselves and the stress in their bodies. It was wonderful. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is unleashing the power within this type of yoga, which in this case it's yin yoga. A sequence of alternative hip flexibility is part of yin yoga. And as you can see what she's doing, get that flexibility. And as you do that towards your aging, as you get older, you'll be happy you did that. And it's good to keep doing these exercises throughout your life. Next slide, please. Another yin yoga type of pose. And this is great for stretching the lower back and the neck. And we're going to do one more and then we're going to take a break. Typically, the next slide, typically white cotton yoga clothing for Kundalini practice, just like this, just like that other slide you saw. So we're going to come out of the slides and we're going to take a short commercial break. The next different types of yoga and what you're actually doing inside of you, your body and your energy systems. Don't go away. You won't want to miss this. We'll be right back.
Master of words, powerful player, What life-changing words can Dr. Janet Smith Warfield pull out of her magical toolbox that just might mysteriously open a door you never knew was there? A door to free yourself from fear forever. Transform your rage into right action. Release your guilt. Position you into a life of freedom, purpose, passion, power, and peace. All quite suddenly, unexpectedly, and almost miraculously, with no effort on your part. Join Dr. Janet on Dancing with Words, Dancing with Wisdom, as she and her guests show you how words map our experiences, immersing you in a sound bath that relaxes your muscles, opens your mind, and supports you in co-creating your extraordinary life. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back to Medical Intuitive Insights. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Warren. So let's continue our journey. Remember I said styles of yoga were what we were going to talk about. We've explored where yoga began, how it traveled across the world, and we arrive at something very personal: the way you experience yoga today. Because not all yoga is the same. Not in movement, not in tension, not in outcomes. Every single style of yoga is designed to influence something different within you. Some calm of the nervous system to build strength, release emotional tension, some to awaken energy, like I said, using the water. Go to the water, work with it, work with that energy. So the question becomes, are you choosing your yoga, or is your yoga choosing you? Hatha yoga is the foundation. This is what I am a yogi in. So Hatha is often considered the foundation of most modern practices. It's slower, more intentional, focused on alignment and control. But here's what many people don't realize. The word Hatha actually represents balance. Ha means sun. Tha is for moon. Active and passive, strength, surrender, sun and the moon, the energy in between. So Hatha Yoga teaches your body how to hold, how to stabilize, how to become aware. This is where beginners begin to build body awareness, breath awareness, and mental presence. Hatha is not easy yoga, it's foundational yoga. Vinyasa yoga is the flow. Go to the water. Vinyasa is movement connected to breath. Each inhale, each exhale guides the body. This is where yoga begins to feel like a rhythm, like a dance. Vinyasa trains coordination, cardiovascular endurance, breath synchronization, and more importantly, it teaches how to move through change. Because life is about change, and mostly the flow, and Vinyasa teaches how to move instead of resisting it. Ashtanga yoga, it's more of a discipline and structure. Yoga, this type of yoga is very precise, structured, and repetitive. You perform the same sequence in the same order every time. It's not a limitation, this is mastery. Ashtanga builds strength, endurance, mental discipline. When the body repeats, the mind stops negotiating, and that's where transformation begins. The deep release, yin yoga is quiet. This is the one we're going to do now. It's very slow, still, And poses are held for minutes at a time. It's not just doing the pose and holding it for 10 seconds, minutes. But yin is not about muscles. It targets fascia, the connective tissue of the body, and fascia holds physical tension, emotional patterns, and stored stress. So when you hold a pose and feel discomfort or even emotion arises, that's not weakness at all. That's the release. Kundalini yoga focuses on energy and awakening. Kundalini yoga is different. Breath, repetition, sound with mantras specifically, and energy movement. Kundalini works directly with the nervous system, stimulates the brain activity, emotional processing, and energy flow. This practice can feel intense, but it is designed to activate dormant energy within the body, often described as energy rising along the spine. Let's pause here because this is where you can gain a little clarity. All of these styles are yoga, but they are not interchangeable. Simple comparison: Hatha is awareness, Vinyasa, movement, Ashtanga, discipline, Yin, release, and Kundalini, activation. Choosing a yoga style is not about preference, it's about what your system needs. So ask yourself, do I need to slow down? I know sometimes I do. Do I need to move? Yep. Do I need release? Perhaps. Do I need to strengthen? Or do I need to reconnect? Because no matter which style you choose, something powerful is happening beneath the surface, in your brain, in your body, in your biology. And we explore exactly why yoga works, not just spiritually, but scientifically. So you need to choose a practice that is going to work for you. Hatha yoga for balance, alignment, foundational strength. Vinyasa yoga for breath, movement, synchronization. Kundalini, nervous system activation, spiritual awakening. Yin yoga for fascia release, deep restoration. And Ashtanga yoga, discipline, endurance, heat generation. But different yoga styles impact brain waves, hormones, and nervous system regulation. So let's welcome to our show Nurse Peggy from the Holistic Nurse with Peggy Smith. So she has come to join us, and we're going to talk a little more about yoga and the different types we mentioned. How are you doing today, Peggy?
Oh, wonderful. Thanks for having me. And I've been following along with, what you've been sharing. And
Mm-hmm.
I think my contribution here is to remind everybody that some of the things that Dr. Warren, very academic, I want to dispel some of the myths as we talk about why this is something anybody can do. We've referenced in prior shows on both our channels. Yoga can be as simple as wheelchair yoga. They're doing that in nursing homes and senior centers. And it's good to know and understand the academic part of it, but I don't want to scare anybody away from this healthy practice. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there used to be a myth. I think we've been spelling most of that, but you thought, you think of yoga, you think of the nice fancy yoga pants and the skinny body and that already bends before you come here, things like that. Um, it's okay to go to a yoga class. You won't be out of place if you just wear your comfortable sweats. You got to wear what you are comfortable in, what you normally do. Um, and everybody's there to get healthy. Nobody's there to judge or compare bodies, things like that. Um, and you sometimes, because your body is waking up, you're waking up parts that you're not even aware of. Um, some of the stretches and things, which are very important, especially as we get older, we find that we don't stretch and move as well as we did. Um, it's you might wake up parts. It's not uncommon, perhaps, to pass gas as you're stretching. You don't have to be embarrassed. We're all humans, and things like that happen sometimes in yoga class. Uh, Sometimes the intensity of the emotions that are triggered by some of the exercises, uh, you might be sitting with all your partners and you all have tears flowing down your eyes. That means that the exercise was effective. On your own level, you got in touch with your body inside. We spend so much time day to day running away from ourselves. Um, and yoga kind of gives you permission in a friendly atmosphere but nobody's there paying attention to you. Everybody's in their own little bubble, talking to themselves, experiencing their feelings, and it's a communal activity, but it's very, very intense and individualized. If you are not able to get to a class, your schedule or finances or whatever, there's lots of yoga resources on YouTube and other places. Uh, and if you're very type A and you want to make sure you're perfect, that's more reason to need yoga. But you could start watching some of these videos and practice in the privacy of your home and until you get confident enough. But as long as you're doing something, you're getting benefits from it. You know, when we stop moving, especially as we get older, and Gloria and I are learning that the hard way sometimes, we have to keep moving, whether we feel like it or not, because we know if we don't, it'll stop moving.
Right, right.
So that's, your academic information is great. And I've taken the yoga instructor's class. And I will say, as a nurse, I was shocked to find out that the physiology that a yoga instructor takes in her training hours, and it's a 200 to 300 hour, 500-hour course, um, it's actually more intense than what a nurse gets in nursing school. Um,
Hmm.
Sometimes even, at least as intense as a physical therapist has to take. So the advantage of being in a class with a professional that's been trained to go through and teach you the things is that she or he would recognize if you're pushing too hard. And, there's no one right way to do it. Obviously, I rescue animals. My favorite one is the downward dog, and you see these memes on Facebook where a dog is with their owner doing yoga next, copying the adit, the procedures, the poses, and
Yeah.
but it's not. We don't want to add. We don't want to making you take care of yourself, teaching you how to take care of yourself, an extra chore, because we all have lists and lists and lists of chores that already aren't getting done. So you just look at this as
Hmm.
part of your healthy routine, like drinking water every day, like, eating the not free squares necessarily, but healthier foods, less processed foods. It's all part of the total picture. Uh, so that's
Right.
what I would contribute, Gloria.
Well, thank you. That's well stated. I was so happy to find out I think it's my grandniece is what I would call her, my niece's daughter. So she's actually learning yoga in um, preschool.
Yes, kindergarten
Um,
and preschool, they have meditation.
yes, they're doing hatha yoga breaths, and they're teaching. She actually it helps to calm her, and she was doing it at her house. And I heard from her mom today, and she's like, "I can't believe they're doing." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's about time." So we're going to return to the slides. I think we're on 25 right now. I'd like to return and just go through. There we go. So this is Yin-tastic pose, why Yin yoga is a game changer for your mind and body. You see her stretching for her hips and all of that, and she's also meditating and relaxing at the same time. Next slide, please. This is the first of 12 poses in the Yin yoga. Next slide, please. The science of yoga. So I wanted to just kind of go through that real fast here. Next slide, please. So unlocking the alpha brainwaves. Remember, meditation should always be a part of every type of yoga. Energy work, meditative energy work. And that's something that is ancient and that needs to carry through within every type. So it unlocks alpha brainwaves. It's a secret of Shun's spirit, per se. So next slide, please. So here we have how to detox the lungs and breathe easy. So these breath techniques are very important. I do one with my patients where I have them lift up on their rib cage and that type of thing. Next slide, please. So gas exchange in human lungs and breathing, it's all there. Next slide, please. And free yourself from all tension and learn to breathe deeper in the next slide. So anyways, you get an idea here. There's more to it than that, but you at least understand. So don't go away. Our final segment's coming up, the science why yoga changes your body and brain and your life. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Master of words, powerful player. What life-changing words can Dr. Janet Smith Warfield pull out of her magical toolbox that just might mysteriously open a door you never knew was there? A door to free yourself from fear forever. Transform your rage into right action. Release your guilt. Position you into a life of freedom, purpose, passion, power, and peace. All quite suddenly, unexpectedly, and almost miraculously, with no effort on your part. Join Dr. Janet on Dancing with Words, Dancing with Wisdom, as she and her guests show you how words map our experiences, immersing you in a sound bath that relaxes your muscles, opens your mind, and supports you in co-creating your extraordinary life.
Welcome back to Medical Intuitive Insights. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Warren. We also have Nurse Peggy here. So let's bring the science and the sacred together. You know, the science of yoga, we've explored with the origins of yoga, how it traveled across the globe, and different ways it was practiced today. Now we arrive at the essential. Why does yoga work? Not just spiritually, emotionally, but biology. Because what ancient practitioners discovered intuitively, modern science is now confirming. Isn't that right, Peggy?
Absolutely. We've been saying for a long time how the East and West, should always complement each other and work alongside to the good of all of us.
So I think you were mentioning about yoga chair, wheelchair yoga, and things of that nature, and therapy.
Right.
So,
There's a new branch of yoga specialists now that have gone beyond the 500, 750 hours of being an advanced yoga instructor. Um, and that's the field of yoga therapy. They actually, it's actually a psychotherapy type thing. Most of these practitioners, though, I'm going to say at the front, are not psychotherapists. They're not in this. There are many psychologists that are also yoga therapists. But because they've learned in common daily practice running classes how you get in touch with your feelings and how intense it can be, they've taken their training another 1,000 to 2,000, something even 5,000 hours further, and they're qualified to deal with some of the things that might actually be triggered by the intense emotions. It's not quite as intense, although it could be for some people like an abreaction where, the experience triggers memories from a long time ago, but it's very intense and uh, they're trained to help you process these feelings. They recognize what's going on, the signs and the symptoms, and they're just able to help you understand what you're doing, and it just makes the process a lot more. But most of them, are not normally psychologists. They know when they're, bordering on something that needs a psychiatrist or a psychologist. But even if you're already in psychotherapy, a yoga therapist is a nice complement to that, getting the right traditional psychotherapy because you truly get to know your body on all levels and then your body will cooperate with you and help you reach your goals.
Speaking of mind, body, let's go back to the slides, number 33. We're going to talk a little bit about that with the science. There we go. Okay, so there is definitely a connection, even the nervous system at the core of the effectiveness. Your nervous system, specifically balance between sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, or parasympathetic, the rest and restore. Next slide, please. So, I mean, there's so much more to it. As you see, the parasympathetic and everything it controls. Next slide, please. And this is respiratory regulation and breathing. Affects your lungs and affects your mind and every part of your body. And then next slide, please. It's taken from what is your toolbox, yoga breathing techniques. So different breathing techniques, and everybody has their own version of this. So next slide, please. The role of breathing in physical therapy, and this is what she was talking about. So you have definitely sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic. So if you have fatigue and depression and high blood pressure, you need to work on that sympathetic nervous system. Whereas if you want to meditate and things of that nature, learn to breathe better, it'd be the parasympathetic nervous system. Next slide, please. The cortisol connection. They've proven, research studies have also proven that cortisol is lowered from meditation and yoga. So maybe not the real strenuous yoga, but what she's doing here, it's fantastic. Next slide, please. How lower cortisol extends life? It does. And the longevity, it's all part of it. Last slide, please. Feel your breath come in and out as your anxiety is released. I just love this picture. It's just I want to be there. It just says the whole thing all in one. I absolutely love it. So Peggy, how can people get a hold of you?
I have the Holistic Nurse with Peggy Smith podcast on YouTube. That's the channel, Holistic with Peggy Smith, at 1 o'clock Eastern Time every Saturday. Coming up the next month that we're starting this weekend is Mental Health Awareness Month. So all of my Saturday shows will be mental health related, either tools to improve your mental health or people on the journey with addiction and health coaches, anxiety hacks. The entire month will be dedicated to mental health services. So please tune in and, share that with your friends that might benefit from that. And I look forward to seeing you again. We'll be here this Saturday with actually Dr. Gloria and Dr. Coach Mike will be talking all about emotions and how they affect different aspects of your body. Thank you for having me today, Gloria.
Oh gosh, absolutely. And just some reminders for our viewers: if you need to slow your heart rate, reduce your blood pressure, keep this in mind. If you don't do yoga now, please look into it. Find the yoga that you need. Remember the tools that I gave you earlier. Find that one. If anything, learn on how to do some breath and meditation and movement to clear the bad energy out of you and put in some good energy. Yoga shifts the brain from high alert into calm and restorative. And there's absolutely the heart-brain connection. The flexible heart rhythm creates flexible response to life. So I'm so glad to have you all come here today and learn more about it. I'm Dr. Gloria Warren, reminding you your healing is not separate from the world. Your breath is not separate from life. And your journey is sacred. This has been Medical Intuitive Insights. There for the grace of God go I, and in that grace we stay aligned. Have a good day.
This has been Medical Intuitive Insights with host Dr. Gloria Warren. Tune in each week as Gloria shares over 40 years of experience and yearns to provide knowledge derived from intuition and research. Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern.